Hey guys, what's going on? Just when I think things couldn't get any more clown worldish, the election happens, and it's not finished, despite what the media tells you. It is completely not finished. The media doesn't get to call who the president is. I can't believe I have to say this and that, like, Democrats think that's how it is. Oh, the Associated Press said Biden won the presidency. Who the fuck cares who they say, what they say? They're a bunch of fucking retards. Why you should never pay attention to any of that. If you actually look at what the government is saying, like the body in charge of the election, it's still not called. Joe Biden doesn't have 270 yet. Even if he did, there are multiple processes coming through from the Republicans and the Trump administration that's going to go through several states like Pennsylvania and Georgia, I believe, two off the top of my head. May even go to Nevada, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Arizona. But two for sure, Pennsylvania for sure is one of them. That this thing is not over. Do people believe, like, I can't believe that I have to. I know people have a short-term memory loss when it comes to politics. We do the whole blunder of the Iraq War for like a decade plus, killing like over 1 million people, and then after it's done, we're like, oh, why do people hate us so much? Oh, like my bad, sorry. Like, can we just put that in the past? Like, it's no big deal, right? Like, America like is okay, right? Like, our image is still okay. No, it's not, you idiots. You fucked it up. That wasn't the only thing. That's just one example. Like, oh, it's no big deal. It's like if you were Iraqi, would you ever forget that? Would you ever forget what you went through? Americans have short-term memory loss, but the world remembers forever. Let's go back 1,000 years ago to 2000. That was 20 fucking years ago. Okay, I was alive. This is not ancient history, but to dumbass Americans it is. Al Gore, quote unquote, won the presidency. He won the election, and then the whole thing in Florida happened where they did a massive recount. Some of the voter machines weren't working, and that took like a month to go through all that. So for a month, Al Gore was touting his dumbass around the country, saying that he won the presidency, he was getting ready to get in the White House, and then boom, no, actually you didn't win Florida. So actually you lost. The same thing is happening now. The media is jumping the gun and saying things that are not true. Like the office of the president elect, Joe Biden has the office of the president elect. That's not a thing. That is made up. That is the assistant to the assistant branch manager. He has not won jack diddly shit. So when Trump hasn't conceded the election and people are like, oh, Trump should just sore loser, he should concede. I can't believe he's turning democracy by not conceding. He hasn't won anything. He should absolutely not concede. It's not over. People think like if the media says something, oh, Twitter fact checks something and it's not true, so that's why I deleted the tweet. Oh wow, who the fuck cares what Twitter thinks? Twitter's run by a bunch of fucking retards. I cannot understand why people have such reverence for the media when literally all they do all day every day is make up shit. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the media, yeah, there's fake news going around. People are like so contentious about their beliefs and like there's different sides to every story, but they're basically telling you what's happening." No, they're actually from start to finish not telling you anything correct. We can go back as far as you want with this shit. We can go back with the Iraq War, saying how Saddam had weapons of mass destruction and he helped Al Qaeda do 9/11. And the CIA had all this information saying that all of this was true. And they had undercover operatives in Iraq verifying the nuclear power plants and the nuclear weapons, whatever, whatever. So that justified invading Iraq because they had weapons of mass destruction and they helped do 9/11. Turns out all of that was complete bullshit. Every single thing from start to finish. Iraq literally had nothing to do with 9/11, not a single damn thing. And yet the media just blurted it out all day, every day for months and months and months to justify not only the Afghanistan war in 2001, but then later, whenever Bush decided, oh, well, one fuck up's not enough, let's go fuck up again in the Middle East because I need to finish what my dad didn't finish because I'm mentally retarded. And then that justified the Iraq invasion in 2003, 2 years later. And people act like that never happened. Like that's just ancient history. And oh yeah, the CIA and the government, the media didn't lie to us massively, causing getting thousands of Americans killed, hundreds of thousands, about close to 1 million Iraqis killed, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, tarnishing our national image throughout the world. Oh, but that's no big deal. We can totally trust law enforcement and government agencies this time when they say ABC. Like, really? Like, holy shit. How many times do we have to it's big things like that to small things like the Nick Sandmann thing that happened 2 years ago with the media. The media reported that a bunch of white Trump supporter kids went up and threatened an old Indian guy, and they were hurling racial slurs at him, and they were the ones surrounding him, and blah, 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 blah. Turns out every single tiny piece of that story is incorrect. Not a single thing. It's not like the media is like, oh, well, here's this story, and oh, yeah, we got this one thing wrong. So it was kind of right, but oh, we had the wrong spin on it. What really happened was sort of what we said, but it was actually this. No, like, everything is made up. Every single little thing is made up. It's not, and they like to play dumb. They're trying to gaslight you. What they're trying to do is just like, oh, well, people have different spin on things, so, it's our bad. Like, it's not really our fault. Like, no, you're lying straight to your face, to our faces, and then we call you out on it once all the facts come in, and then you try to weasel your way out of it because you're little fucking weasels. So it turns out the Native American went up to Nick Sandmann and his friends. They didn't go up to him. They weren't the ones hurling racial slurs at him. It was the black Israelites saying racial slurs at them, and they did not surround them. It was the Native American and his little black buddies surrounding them. Like, every single point of contention, every single piece of information about that story, the media got, quote unquote, got wrong. No, they didn't get it wrong. They didn't just get the wrong information. They didn't just misreport it. They weren't just misinformed. No, they flat out fucking lied to suit their narrative. They want to pick any Trump supporters doing something bad, and they want to amplify it. So once they found that story, they didn't care what evidence supported or not supported them, they went with it. And the fact is, people don't care when they issue a tiny little retraction months later. Oh, actually, we are incorrect about ABC. Actually, XYZ happened. No one cares. You've already brainwashed them. There are millions and millions of liberals to this day that believe Nick Sandmann is a racist and he surrounded an old, helpless war veteran and yelled racial slurs and was threatening at him. And they will go to their grave decades and decades from now believing that, when it never happened. It never happened. Nothing even close to that happened. In fact, literally exactly the opposite happened. But they will go to their grave believing this. Now, it's no big deal if that was the only thing that they were massively 100% misinformed on. But the media does this with every single thing they say. Every single thing. So that's how we have two groups of people living in this country that live in literally different planes of reality. News pundits try to act innocent, like, how do we have two groups of people who live in the exact same country yet believe totally opposite things? Because one half is completely brainwashed. That's why, you idiot. Sargon and Matt Christensen did these videos before me, so obviously I'm not going to go through this entirely, but there are more than a dozen examples that they just listed of voter fraud. It wasn't just a one-off thing like, oh, this one machine counted this one vote wrong, or this one thing was incorrect, or this one ballot was tossed out. Like, every single election, there are literally millions and millions of votes. Even if humans are as perfect as they can get, like as perfect as humanly possible, there's going to be errors. There's going to be glitches. There's going to be someone who drops a box of ballots. That's normal because there are literally millions of this stuff happening in a day. We cannot be perfect. I accept that. Everyone accepts that. Everyone knows that every single election there are these weird stories of just shitty things happening. But it's a 0.00001% of all the votes that have been cast. So that's pretty much as close as perfect as you can get, which we accept as humanly possible, which is why no one makes a big deal about, oh, this one ballot was thrown out, that means the election is fraud. Like, no one fucking, who the fuck says that? Like, it's like if you're doing, oh, I don't know, if you're a cashier and you're sitting there, let's say I'm making an example, so it's an exceptionally busy day. Let's say you do like 100 people go through your cashier line in a day, and they literally have dozens and dozens of, some people have 100 plus items. Eventually, you're going to swipe on the cashier thing and you're going to miss it, and then you're just going to put it in the bag and the thing's not going to get scanned. That's human nature. I know, I was a cashier for years. Those scanners are shit. Sometimes you scan it and you think you hit it and you're in a rush and you're tired and you just miss it. That's human error. That's within the margin of human error. If you're doing that many items, odds are eventually you're going to think you scanned one, you didn't scan one. Now, if you did for every 3 items you did and you missed one, then no, that's just like, okay, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're obviously not doing this correctly. If it's literally every 3 or 4 items, you scan it and it doesn't scan right, it's like, okay, you need to slow down and fucking figure your shit out. But if it's 1 out of 1,000, yeah, human error. Same thing with votes. You can go through every election, 2016, 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, and you can find examples of voter fraud. That's normal considering how many votes we're doing. But this election was way different. I have to make a disclaimer, I didn't even vote for Trump. I just want to be the process to be fair and transparent. But the fact is, it wasn't. If the reverse has been, let's say the reverse happened and all these weird things I'm about to list happened for Trump instead of Biden, I will be making the exact same video in the exact same tone of voice because no matter what my candidate loses, what the fuck do I care? But the fact that now, like the one of the few things the country still has left going for it is that our election is basically fair and transparent. Like our country is falling apart. Institutions are falling apart. Our debt is skyrocketing. Our everyone thinks we're a fucking joke. Everything's falling apart. But at least we can hang on to the notion that our elections are pretty much fair. Yet again, there's some weird things happening once in a while, but basically they're fine. Well, now we know we can have that. Now we can't even hold on to that notion. We lost that. So what are all these examples of voter fraud that apparently are right-wing conspiracy theories? I hate it when these like privileged little twats who like literally have never lifted anything more than 10 pounds in their life strut onto CNN or MSNBC and like, hey, there's no example of voter fraud. My faggot friends did some fact checks and we found it incorrect. You're literally ignoring massive amounts of evidence right in front of you. Like, for example, the most egregious one is that this is the one that Rudy Giuliani is going to sue for because he's Trump's lawyer, that 450,000 Pennsylvania ballots may have been false. We're not talking about one box or one trash can full of thrown away ballots. 450,000. That could easily sway the election. And what happens to be, oh, what a coincidence. You know what's funny is that none of this fraud stuff ever happened in a state that, like, like California is going to vote blue no matter what. It doesn't even matter. You would have to swing like 4 million votes to swing that to red, so it's not even possible. Didn't happen in California, didn't happen in New York, didn't happen in a solid red state like, I don't know, Alabama. No, it didn't happen there. Oh, it just happened to happen in swing states where the vote was extremely close. Again, could be a massive coincidence. One of these things by themselves could be chalked up to, yeah, someone fucked up. It's a stupid glitch, like whatever. But there's 12 of them. So the first one was 450,000 ballots could have been false. Another thing was that in multiple states, the Republican overseers of elections weren't allowed into the polling stations. You saw the viral video of the Democrats kicking the Republicans out of the polling stations, then boarding up the windows. Like, that is the most suspect thing you can do in your fucking life. How can you say, oh, that's perfectly normal? Democrats kicking out Republicans and then boarding up the polling station, then magically, oh, all these votes happen to come in for Biden right after that. They're not even trying to hide it. And the reason why they're not trying to hide it because they know they don't need to. You can bring forth all the evidence in the world, as they are in the court proceedings that are going to happen next couple of weeks, and lay out like hours and hours and hours of evidence and reports and eyewitnesses and testimonies and all of this data to show all this stuff. And then people will just sit there and just think, I Democrat, I want Biden win, so no, that's all false. It's all fake news. It's all made up. The software that supposedly glitched in, I believe it was Georgia, that same software was used in at least 28 states. So more than half the states use the exact same software. That happens to glitch and happens to glitch only one way. Wow, what a coincidence. You know, in 2016, there was very few cases where software did actually glitch and went from Biden to Trump, or not 2016 was Clinton, from Trump to Clinton or Clinton to Trump. Like, it went both ways, and it was very isolated. So that makes you think that was an actual glitch. That actually happens. There's nothing anyone can do to make it 100% because it's software. It messes up. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about, oh my God, this software glitch where 3 votes went from Trump to Biden. That means he rigged it. Like, no, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, potentially more than half the states have this exact software that has this exact one-way problem. Can you tell me if you were a Democrat and all this happened in reverse and Trump magically had all these software glitches that helped him? And Democrats were kicked out of polling stations, Republicans boarded up the windows, and more than hundreds of thousands of votes magically appeared for Trump with no other check marks for local or state elections. And you're telling me you would just sit there like, oh, yeah, there's no evidence of election fraud. Yeah, that's all fake news. No, Biden lost fair and square. I'm just going to be quiet and not protest. Like, come on. These are the same people who have been whinging out for 4 fucking years about how Russia stole the election, how Russia meddled in our election, with positively no proof whatsoever for 4 fucking years. And at the expense of a 2-year investigation, I'll put up whatever the amount was. It was like 50 million, or it was in the millions. After a 2-year, multi-million investigation, the courts decided that there was no Russia conspiracy, that Russia never meddled in the election. So you've been whinging on that for 4 fucking years with no evidence, and yet all this evidence coming in the other side, and you're just like, nah, no big deal. Obviously transparent what they're doing. They don't care that they're lying. They don't care that they have double standards. They don't care that all this evidence is showing contrarian to what they believe. All they care about is gaining power. And if someone calls them out on it, they just won't comment back on Facebook. Political discussions don't happen in person nowadays. Very rarely do they ever. Very rarely is someone cornered in a person-to-person interaction and have to defend their beliefs. No, they just do it online, and whenever they are caught in a quandary because they're lying or they have double standards, they just don't reply. That person's just a troll. They're just racist. I don't even want to bother responding to them, and that's what they do. And then that's how we have like millions of people running around believing in like made-up shit because no one can call them out on it. Now that was just 4 out of the 12 examples. Again, I'll link Matt Christian and Sargon's videos in the description because I'm not going to just rehash everything so there's no point. But the fact is, we have all of this evidence that shows just worthy investigation. Okay, don't even believe me when I say there's 100%, there's voter fraud. Don't even do that. Just saying, some of this is kind of fishy. Some of this is kind of weird. This has literally never happened in any other election. Let's look into it. If 0 evidence was required of a 2-year, multi-million dollar investigation for Russia, why is it that a mountain of evidence, oh, no investigation necessary, Democrats are hounding for no one to investigate any of this? Now tell me, why would they say not to investigate things if it was free and fair, if they didn't do anything wrong? If they had nothing to hide, then why are they so resisting this investigation? Like, that is the most obviously guilty thing you can do. That's such a stereotype, like in movies when the evil guy's trying to hide what he's doing. He's like, oh no, don't look in the closet, you know, like the stereotype in silly old movies. That's what they're doing. Like, if you didn't do anything wrong, why are you resisting investigation so vehemently? They don't answer. They don't stop responding on Facebook. They don't answer in press conferences. They don't reply on Twitter. Nope, just nothing. Because they know they can answer, but they don't care. The thing is, for 5 years, for half a decade, the media has been pumping fake news into people, saying that Trump is literally Hitler, he literally wants to kill all black people, he literally wants to kill the Mexicans, he literally is a white supremacist. So in their minds, the ends justify the means. If you were to travel back through time and had the opportunity to rig the election to make Hitler not being voted into power whenever he was voted into power before World War II, wouldn't you do it? It's like, yeah, rigging votes is cheating and it's bad, but like, we're stopping Hitler, so the ends justify the means. Like, it's all worth it. It's all okay because we're doing it for the greater good. Well, that's what they're thinking because they literally think. Like, I know bring Hitler into any political conversations, like, oh, that's just a stereotype. That's just every political argument leads back to Hitler eventually. But I'm not the one saying it. They're the ones saying it. So that's why they think they're justified in lying and rigging things, because they literally believe they're up against white supremacist Nazis. Don't take my word for it. Go ask them. They've been saying it for half a decade. You can call them out all their double standards all day, every day. You can bring forth all the evidence that I'm going to link that I just mentioned, plus many more. That's just the tip of the iceberg, and they won't care. They'll say it's all made up, it's fake, or they just won't reply. They know that they're rigging the election. They know they're stealing. They know they're lying, and they don't care. So we have a major political party. We have millions upon millions. This isn't some fringe radical extremist ideology. that you can write them off as, okay, well, their beliefs are retarded and they're very malevolent and evil, but they have like 12 members, so who cares? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a huge chunk of the population that believes that they can do whatever they want in the name of social justice, of combating white supremacy, whatever buzzword you want to put in there. Literally whatever is justified. Beating random people on the street, stabbing people, robbing businesses, burning businesses, rigging votes, slandering people, getting people kicked out of their jobs, calling them racist, white supremacists, whatever. Like I could go on and on and on and on, but you already know this. Yes, it's dirty deeds, it's dirty tactics, it's fighting dirty, but the ends justify the means. If you're doing it's Nazis, then who cares? So this is the country we live in. This is the country. It's just so pathetic. I don't understand why anyone believes anything the mainstream media says. After all of their decades and decades and decades of lying, like the Iraq War thing should have been the end. That was the end for me. Just like you guys literally made up shit and got 1 million+ people killed. Why would I believe anything you ever say ever again? You lying fucking hypocrites. Oh, trust the CIA. They're different. Oh, they're different? Really? 20 years? You think some of the same people who were there 20 years ago are still in there? They're career politicians, they're career government bureaucrats. They're there for like 50+ fucking years. Joe Biden's been in politics for 47 fucking years. Oh, and guess what? I mean, I hate to bring up ancient history. He voted for the Afghanistan war. He voted for the Iraq war. He voted for the Yemen war. He voted for the Somalian war. He voted for the Nigerian war. He voted for the Pakistan war. What do you mean we're fighting there? Look, I don't. It's outside the scope of this video. If you didn't know we're bombing Nigeria, Somalia, Yemen, Pakistan, I'm sorry, you're just ignorant. It's been all over the news for like 15 fucking years. Joe Biden never met a war he didn't like. I can't wait for our next war. It's definitely not going to be against China though, because he's China's little bitch. He's China's little puppet. So it's not going to be against China. So I'm really interested to see what warmongering, saber-rattling old Joe, what country we're going to invade next, under what false premises. It's going to be amazing.